welcome back. Today I'm going to be letting my besties choose what books I read, and I'm gonna take you with me. I sent out a little text to 3 of my friends basically saying, hey, I'm doing a video where I'm letting my friends choose my reads. Give me a rec. I also sent a little screen recording of my TBR in case they needed some inspo. You never know. It can be a bit difficult to kind of judge someone else's reading style. Let's look at the books that were recommended for me. The first book chosen was The Right Move by Liz Tomford. This friend has been recommending this book to me for about a year now, so I wasn't really shocked. It was kind of a formality for me to text her and say, hey, pick a book. I know this is a good book. I've heard so many really good things. People just really liked it online. Like, I'm the one who bought her that, actually. I bought her the book a few years ago because I heard it was so good. So I think this is a good start. Let's go. I've finished The Right Move by Liz Tomford, and let me just say, I absolutely loved it. It is a basketball romance. I know I didn't update you much throughout. I was very busy. December is kind of a crazy month. So anyway, The Right Move is all about 2 characters falling in love. Basically, I really loved it. I read it on my phone, which I think you probably have seen. I was too impatient to buy the book. I just wanted to start reading once I got the recommendation, so I just bought it on my phone. I read it and here's what I thought. I really liked the characters. I thought Indy has so much life and just fun energy about her. I really enjoyed that she's a book lover too. She loves romance books, which felt like the author was kind of like winking at us to be like, oh, it's you guys, which it very much was. There were some quotes and stuff that she said that I found very, very funny, and I highlighted in the app. I thought some things were very kind of like silly, cliche-ish, so I bookmarked only like 5 things. For example, the main male character said, everyone else needs to get on my level on page 18, which I was like, can you relax? He used the word goat in first 20 pages. I did not enjoy that. Oh yeah, something else I found, which is very much because I know the author is a reader, a romance girly. I found it very funny. She wrote, yes, moving in with my best friend's brother sounds like a plot pulled straight from one of my favorite romance novels. And what I wrote was, it's not cliche if you call it out, huh? I think the author was trying to subvert your expectations by calling out how cliche this romance book is, but that doesn't make it less cliche. I found that very funny. Like, the author was like, I swear, this isn't your average romance book, by having Indy say, oh, this is like a romance book. Lol. It is a romance book, Indy. Hate to break it to you. She had some very good lines about like book boyfriends and making fun of Ryan, the male main character, for just his intensity, his control freak nature, and again, she's very good at teasing him. Ryan is a fun character. He has like his depth to him, but then also he is still obviously obsessed with Indy, which I always appreciate. Their dynamic and their relationship together is very wholesome and very ironically communicative. Can you call it dynamic communicative? I am now. They communicate really well, which I appreciate. So it's not like they're 10 years old. They're adults in a romantic relationship or fake dating relationship, whatever. And they're very good at saying, hey, this, and this is going on. We need to figure this out. Or like, what's wrong with you? You're being weird, blah, blah, blah. So they're very good at calling each other out and kind of like having those conversations, which is nice to read in a romance book, because a lot of the time the fallout of the book is some kind of stupid miscommunication where it could have been solved in a few minutes. I very much appreciated reading to adults, communicating like adults. And don't get me wrong, they still have their hiccups with just being very different people. That being said, the book is, I believe, 500 and something pages. I'm not really sure because phone scrolls are a lot smaller than a page. Couldn't really tell you, but I'm pretty sure it's around 500 odd pages. I just think it was really long for a romance book, and I believe some of the last bits didn't need to be there. The conflict, you know, the third act breakup, felt like it was put there to be the third act breakup because it's a formula and you need to follow the formula. It didn't feel organic in the way that I've seen authors like Ali Hazelwood put it in. This third act breakup felt out of the blue. The reasoning, I obviously I won't spoil what the fight or what's going on, but it is very out of character for one of the characters to react the way they did. This book is dual point of view. We kind of hop inside both their heads. The reader has the benefit of knowing how each character thinks. But I think that kind of escaped the author's mind maybe, or as she was like writing it, the fight or whatever, the problem, the hump to get over to your happy ending, because we know what both characters think and what their true motivations in life and their dreams and hopes for everything are. Then when you manufacture this stupid out of character moment, it's extra out of character because we've been in these characters' heads. I know that this character doesn't think like this, and I know the moment is not supposed to be a rational kind of like panic moment, whatever, on this character's part, so I get that it's irrational and out of character for them. I still think there were better places to put conflict between the two characters rather than right there. I think something big enough happens earlier to the same character that acts out of character. Take a shot every time I say character. And I think there would have been a pretty good point to initiate a fight or a breakup or like something serious and just shorten the book. I know that's very vague, but I think people who've read this book will get what I'm saying. So that was my main critique of the book. Don't take this wrong. I loved it. I absolutely flew through this book. I highly recommend it, especially to sports romance fans. It was so lovely reading a sport that's not hockey. And I think I do like the dynamic of an athlete and sometimes another athlete. But I like the dynamic of like training and the stakes of a high intensity sport at the core of a book. I quite enjoy that. If you're a fan of the series already, the characters from the first book are in this book, if that means anything to you. I didn't read the first book. I was told not to. I was told to read this one. At the end, we get a little flash forward. 4 years later, everyone's happy. Here's what everyone's life looks like, which I do appreciate in a book because I like to see where my characters are, my beloved characters are. I thought that was a nice little bow on the top. I may read the other books in this series. I may not. I'm not really sure right now. Again, I'm kind of sticking to the old TBR for the moment. A good book all in all, and I highly recommend it if you're a romance reader. Those are my thoughts on The Right Move. On to the next book. This next book, there was a tiny bit of back and forth with my next friend about what book. She was looking through my TBR and was kind of like, maybe this one, maybe this one. But then we settled on Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. Controversially, I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan. I've never read it. I tried to read The Hobbit when I was a teenager and I didn't like it at all. It actually completely turned me off Tolkien's writing. This is kind of like a funny, controversial pick because we were joking, like, oh my god, imagine this is what makes me read Lord of the Rings. Here I am. I am interested in how this will go. I have purposely avoided this like my whole life. And I've also famously said to my friends that I'll never read this. Here we go. Wish me luck.
Just popping in now to update you on where I'm at and my initial thoughts on Fellowship of the Ring. I am actually about halfway, a little more, just like slightly over halfway, and I've actually finished book 1 within this book. I'll start off by saying it's going really well. We're shocked. So I was actually quite nervous to start this because I didn't think I'd like it after hearing about The Lord of the Rings for so long. The vibe I saw online was like the complete opposite of the vibe I thought I would enjoy. The main thing I always thought was that this was like this insurmountable challenge of a read. I don't know if that's what you saw on the internet or just like in public opinion maybe. The Lord of the Rings was so hard to read and so flowery and so over the top. This crazy fantasy book, but it's not hard to read at all. Like, it actually really puzzled me why people think this is a difficult text to understand and follow along with. When you say flowery language, sure, it's descriptive, but not excessively so. Like, not once have I actually thought, hey, that was unnecessary, because the gist of the story, and I don't think you could ever really spoil The Lord of the Rings because it's been out so long, but the gist of the story is that they're just walking and it's all about their friendship with each other, the hobbits interacting with the world around them, and like the other people around them, be them like elves or humans or other hobbits, stuff like that. There's also like the bad guys who are chasing them as they walk this really long walk. If there was little to no description, them just walking would be the most boring book in the world, besides obviously the character interactions and like the things that happen. But you'd have like a quarter of the book left if you took out all of the beautiful scenery descriptions that clearly Tolkien was such a big fan of, and he does it well. If you were like me and thought, I can't possibly read The Lord of the Rings because it sounded like such a challenge, this uphill battle to read this book, the people who are saying that don't read. Maybe if you're really new to fantasy, you won't get it. I can really see where so many fantasy authors got inspiration, drew from a bit of Tolkien in their own writing, and I don't think any fantasy writer is safe from having done that. Like, I think everyone's done that, and that's not a criticism. That just speaks to how well this book is written, how well the concepts in here are. You like found family? This is the OG found family girly. Something about it just seemed like the next level of nerdy to me. Even though, like, yeah, I'm nerdy and I like books, but also like video games and like things that other people think are weird, I quite enjoy. But I always thought this was a step too far for me to go into, but now here I am. So I'm really enjoying this book. Let me tell you, I went into this knowing nothing. I didn't even know that Bilbo would be in here. I have never seen the movies either, by the way. I never clued into this franchise at all. The songs, there's so many songs, and I feel like that's so fun. They add to it at the gym. I like to listen to the audiobook, and the songs are extra fun because they're actually sang or chanted. That adds to it too. I really enjoy that. Yeah, I like all the description. I think it's fantastic. I thought the combat so far, there's very little so far, but I thought the combat is slightly lacking. The description of the combat is slightly lacking because there's a scene where Frodo attacks people-ish things and suddenly he's injured. Spoiler. And I was like, wait, what? Where did this happen? What do you mean? Where was he injured? How did that happen? I didn't leave the page. What's going on? I think Tolkien is actually very good at writing scary bits. There's a few scenes in here that I'm like, that's spooky. And even some of the concepts of the bad or the evil parts are quite spooky. So I'm also very impressed by that. So overall, this is going really well and I'm actually flying through this. I think I've gotten halfway in 3 or 4 days. The only reason I haven't finished it yet now is because I've gone back to work. So I don't have the same amount of time off. Reading time has watered. I highly recommend this. Probably the least original recommendation anyone's ever given, but yeah, read it. I'll update you now. Probably won't update you until I actually finish the book. I imagine much of my thoughts will be the same, maybe a bit more plot-based, considering I'll have finished it and I'll be able to speak to how the story went as a whole and came together at the end. See you then.
just popping in now to fill you in on my final thoughts on the Fellowship of the Ring. So I've finished it. Feels pretty crazy that I've actually started the Lord of the Rings series. I always swore I wouldn't read it. Many thoughts, most of them good, really. I really enjoyed this book. It's essentially like a cozy must read, in my opinion. It just felt lovely. I can imagine rereading this when seeking comfort. The characters are so fun. Like, I loved our little party dynamic. All of the different types of people. So like there were hobbits, a dwarf, an elf, humans, kind of. It was such a fun fellowship. I liked all of the supporting cast that we get introduced to and run into as we're on this really long walk, essentially. The characters kind of being taken in and helped every step of the way. It felt very wholesome. I liked the ideas put through that asking for help and you'll get it kind of thing going on. The end of this was a bit bittersweet, and I don't think this is much of a spoiler. At the end, it's no longer all of us. Kind of groups are split off. I kind of felt sad about the fact that we're not all together anymore and that certain people might be going different ways. I'm gonna miss having the full team all together. Something else happened a bit earlier before the end that just through pop culture, I think I know isn't permanent. And if I say that, that will be a spoiler. So I'm not going to say what that I'm exactly meaning there. Yeah, I don't think what happened is permanent. The second half really picks up like pace and tension a little bit. Like it gets a bit scarier, I suppose, or more atmospheric in certain parts. Our fellowship are in real trouble for bits in the second half, and you can really feel that. And I really am curious how this is all going to end up, and see if there is a happy ending to Lord of the Rings, which I assume there is, considering it's such a beloved series. Yeah, I do think I will read the other ones. Not now, because I have such a long TBR and so many things to read, not even just for this video, but also in this video I have so many other books to read. I was impressed, incredibly impressed, and I loved it. I'm not going to give you my rating because I will be filming my review video for the month, at the end of the month, so you'll just have to wait to know what I rated it, but you could probably give it a good guess. And you'd probably be right. Yay, Lord of the Rings. And I'm also really interested to see the movie too, to like compare and to see how it was adapted, because I'm pretty sure I've heard it's like a fantastic adaptation. This video is going fantastically so far. On to the next book. I'm actually going away, like on a little holiday, a little skiing holiday. So I might have some clips of me reading that in the snow. We'll see, because I don't know how much reading I'll be doing versus skiing. I'll see you in those clips, I guess. And now, finally, my last friend had a look at my TBR. She took a bit of time to think, and she chose Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This is contemporary fiction. It's not quite a romance, I don't think, but it is about love. That's something that's said on the back here, and there's apparently betrayal and tragedy, which is scary, but I suppose we'll see. I have also heard really good things about this book. Everyone on the internet raved about this when it came out. 2023, so it's actually kind of brand new. If 2 years is brand new. Practically brand new compared to all the catch up I'm always doing with the books I'm reading. Yeah, that's our final book. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and I'll let you know how it goes. I'm back in Ireland, and it's time to tell you how I've been getting on with Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. I am now halfway through. I'm on page 230. I did actually get a little bit of reading done while I was away. Not a crazy amount, but that's okay. I want to update you, tell you how it's been going. Tomorrow and Tomorrow has actually been a really fun read so far. The premise is we are following Sam and Sadie throughout their lives as they first meet as kids and then grow up into similar enough adults or young adults so far, and they start to make video games together. They bonded a lot as kids over games and gaming, so the natural progression of their relationship as they get older is to start to make video games together. And it's just all about the dynamic and the behind the scenes of making video games, the reality of those kind of working relationships mixing with friendly relationships. There's a lot of that. I wasn't actually that sure what to expect when I began the book. What was it? This is a story of Sam and Sadie. It's not a romance, but it is about love. And I feel like I really understand that now. They're not in love, they're not dating, but they do love each other. And it's this strong bond between the two characters that is actually really lovely. And it's really lovely to read about these two very strong characters who just love each other so fiercely, but also still fight a lot. They really disagree sometimes. They're actually currently in a fight right now where I am, and it's really annoying because I disagree with some of the choices and things they've said to each other. But isn't that kind of the reality of life? I feel like this video has just been me repeating, I like this book, over and over again, just about the different books I've read. All of the video game stuff is really interesting. I do like to play some games myself, so I like to see the behind the scenes and the designers and the programmer stuff. It's also kind of set a bit in the past, because obviously, as I said, it starts when they're kids, and I think it was like the 80s or 90s. It was early, so they're like referencing a lot of old video games, like Metal Gear Solid is in there, Donkey Kong, and then as time is going on and when they're in college, they're starting to talk about the newer Nintendo games. Where I am now, I think Sadie and Sam are about 25, and Sadie got a Game Boy, for example, which obviously is really in the past for us here in 2025. But for them is like the hip new tech. So it's really interesting. It's like a love letter to video games. And something I'm really curious about, just as a tangent, is whether or not Zevin is a gamer. What Gabrielle Zevin knows about games. Like, did she do a load of research? Or is she a gamer? You know, how much does she know? So I'm actually kind of curious about that, because there's stuff like earlier in the book, there was a comment about Sadie leaving a README file in her game or whatever. If you don't know what a README file is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's meant to be read. You'd put it on like GitHub and stuff when you're uploading code, and it kind of describes what your repo is, right? Is Zevin into programming? Do they know stuff about programming? Or did she do really good research? So I actually find that really interesting to think about and hypothesize. I also want to say that some things are written in such a really lovely way. It was such a unique way to say something. Oh yeah, so for example, like literally page 1. On a late December afternoon in the waning 20th century, Sam exited a subway car and found the artery to the escalator clogged by an inert mass of people who were gaping at a station advertisement. It's very easy to say there was a lot of people. The place was busy. Everyone was looking at something. But I liked the imagery of the artery being clogged by a load of people standing about, because you can see that, and I really enjoyed that. Here, Sam wore an elephantine or elephantine. I don't know how to pronounce it because I've never heard anyone use that word. It obviously means big. He wore a big navy wool peacoat, but the author goes to the effort of saying elephantine or elephant, whatever, you know what I mean, to really show how massive this coat is on him. Who else is thinking to describe things like this just like casually on page 1? The writing has been like that all throughout the book. It's been really descriptive, and I believe the choice of words has been really fun and has really lended itself to the imagery and just picturing the book as a whole. This is another book I am actually really loving. I'm going to continue it now, and I will catch up with you probably when I finish. So I'll see you soon. probably looks like I don't move from this couch, but I swear I have left this couch in the last month. But anyway, what I'm here on the couch again to talk to you about is tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. So I finally finished this book and I want to give you my final thoughts. I now know why it's called Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, and it's actually quite a good name. Yeah, I like the name now. It really grew on me. I don't like it when I have to talk about it in video or to my friends, which I have, but I do like it as the title of this story. Long story short, I really loved this book. We have gotten hit after hit after hit in this video. Something about this book that I must say, or I gotta say, is that it makes you feel. Whether those feelings are good feelings remains to be seen, i.e. no. Oh my goodness. There were times where I just felt so frustrated with our two main characters. They made so many decisions that really annoyed me. They would have all of these arguments where they just point blank refused to kind of see the other person's side. Like, I just felt overwhelmingly annoyed. These two characters arguing over something that was fair enough to argue about, but one of the characters was being really unfair, and that really annoys me. Like, that is something, injustice really annoys me. But no, for real, I think I have, in life in general, I have a very strong sense of what I think is fair and unfair. When something I feel is unfair happens to me, I get really super upset about it. It ruins my day, my week, my month even, depending on how unfair the thing was. And that's something that just really gets to me specifically. Hearing their argument and then reading their argument, feeling that one of the characters is being so unfair to the other, it took over me and physically made my day worse. So is that a plus or a minus for the book? It's a plus. It's a plus. Because I appreciate when a book can make me feel so strongly as to ruin my day, or I settled down once I continued reading. That's just the annoyance and frustration. Don't get me started on the sadness. There are some quite sad bits to this book, and obviously to avoid spoilers, I won't go into them. But again, the author really does make you feel with that. Other thoughts? All of the video games in here, so they do actually make multiple video games throughout their lives, together and separate. I wish I could play these video games. I was reading them and I was like, damn, I'd love to play this. I'd really love to play this. The author writes a convincing, fun video game, though some of them are kind of unfeasible. Real life limitations versus fiction. You know, you can write the most fantastical stuff in a book that just probably can't really be made now with a real game engine. There's like an MMO or RPG that I don't think could be made just from what's described. I probably would have really liked it. So that's a massive plus. Good video game representation, I suppose. I really liked the language use in this book. I feel like the author loved to stretch her vocab muscles sometimes, which I really enjoyed. I liked it. I thought it was so nice to read such a unique way of describing things, or such an interesting way of describing things. I think people who enjoy following characters over a long span of time, not necessarily a massive plot, like maybe like a bit of an overarching goal or storyline, like, but not too much of like a beginning, middle, end kind of plot structure. People who enjoy that, this is the book for them. I can also see someone who really dislikes video games or really knows nothing about video games maybe wouldn't find it as interesting as I did, purely because it's all hinged on the video games. All the decisions, all the conflict, well, a lot of the conflicts are all hinged on the video games they are making. So if you're not really into video games and you really don't care about the background and the behind the scenes, if you will, of video games, probably won't care that much. You probably won't care about the stakes either, because again, it's all about them making good or bad video games. I will give you the rating in my end of month reading review. On to the other Katie, who is going to outro this video. There you have it. I let my best friends choose what books I read, and they were pretty good. I'm really happy with all of these recs. It was actually a fantastic reading period for me. I really enjoyed all these books, and I've learned that I do trust my friends' recommendations. They've good taste. If you want ratings for these books, wait for my end of month wrap up. I'm going to combine December and January. You'll hear exact ratings I gave each book along with another little review. I know I spoke about my thoughts as I was reading. In the wrap up video, I will have my sit down thoughts after I've had time to process the book. That's coming soon. Look out for that. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, here's another one that YouTube recommends for you, and I will see you later.